Hello folks, this is Paragon RG, and we're casting a top-level game with the Viper versus none other than whoever Carlus Mangsen is. We'll get back to that in just a minute. So the Viper, one of the best, if not the best, Age of Empires 4 player, having won the first major tournament in the game, and he is now back on the grind. He's winning, he's near the top of the ladder again, so I fear for anyone playing against him in the next big tournament, which should be in early to mid-January. He is at the northwest of the map, which is Hill and Dale, by the way. We'll explore that in just a second. Playing as the Delhi, and I always love to watch Delhi matches. They have some of the coolest mechanics. They get free research, although it's slow, and of course they get elephants, and I love seeing elephants used. Additionally, they get a research which allows them to take sacred sites one age earlier and get double the income. So they get 200 gold per minute instead of 100 gold per minute, and that is a pretty darn big deal. So Viper got that early mosque, so we'll keep an eye on that. And he is naturally researching the efficient production tech, which will let him put his scholars, of which you start with one when you build your first mosque for the Delhi. Let him put his scholars in his barracks, his stables, etc., to increase their production by 100%. That is double. On the other side of the map, we have Carlus Mangsen in the blue, playing as the Mongols. And one thing to note, this is actually an interesting choice from him. Hill and Dale is a pretty closed map. So I'm going to take a little look at his side of the map for you, right? You can get in here. I think you're supposed to be able to get in here, but it's actually covered by trees, which is a bit of a strange map generation. And then you can get in down here. So the best civs on this map are generally civs that can place walls, meaning every civ except the Mongols. So he is playing as the Mongols. We'll see how he makes that work. He's probably going to have to be aggressive, and indeed we see him using his double production to put out a couple of spears already. We'll see if he follows that up. I think he's just short on resources right now, but he does have the stone for the next double batch of spearmen. But always interesting to see if he just stops at a certain point, sort of bluffs his opponent maybe into one response or another. Viper's scouting those spearmen very early, so he's not going to be surprised by them at all. Mongols, for those of you who are new to the game, are nomadic. So this town center started packed up, and he moved it up to the closest resource, which was this tree line here. Sometimes you can find a tree line with like a gold patch, and then you can set the thing up, and it's perfect because you don't need any gurs, which are your resource drop-off building. And they're nice because they can drop off any... villagers can drop off any resource to them, but they cost quite a bit more. They're 3 times a normal drop-off building, so 150 wood instead of 50 wood. So you really want to minimize how many of those you need to make. Once you do make them, you can pack them up. So you'll see if I click here, there's this pack up option. And you can do that on just about any Mongol building. Move it somewhere else and send them along somewhere. So that's one way Mongols can save money. Save. Okay, so what do we see here? So I didn't see... So here are the spearmen, and 2 villagers are up front building an outpost. This is a strategy we see a lot. Viper's actually, by the way, been very proactive in putting a defensive outpost here, which I like a lot. I think he knows villagers or a spearman have to come through here. So what better place to put an outpost to lock this whole area down? Now, outposts for the Mongols are actually 70 wood instead of 100. And additionally, if he goes up with the Deerstone's landmark, and I will point that out once I see it happen, it's almost certainly what he's going to do, then this extends, see the circle? Actually, I think it's this circle radius. It extends the radius at which you get speed boosts to all your troops. And so these spearmen end up being faster, the villagers end up being faster. Look at this wall. I like that a lot. He's trying to minimize the ability of Carlus Mangsen to move around. But look at that, just chops the tree like a boss and just walks right around this wall. So the Viper will know that and is building more walls to try to block in his opponent. And he'll jump into this tower as soon as he needs to. So this play is super annoying in particular because you can place these spearmen in the towers and they still shoot. It's not like Age of Empires 2 where you had to place villagers or archers, like some sort of ranged unit, into a tower or a castle to shoot. Anything will shoot. You can even put elephants in here. So You could double produce spearmen, build outposts for, 70% the price, and then load the spearmen into the outpost when you need to, and they are really, really nasty. Another outpost coming down from him. Viper is, I was going to say he's pretty close to going up to the next age, but he's lacking some of the gold. Looks like he's... Okay, so he'll probably drop off the next batch very shortly and click up. Carlus Mangsen is getting up himself. And by the way, I didn't point this out, but this is obviously a play on Magnus Carlsen, best chess player in the world. But this is very probably a secondary account from one of the top players. I just don't know who. Okay, this is an interesting play. Viper building this a little farther forward than you might expect. This will allow him to produce the Scholar unit. That's the one sitting in this mosque here. And I didn't mention earlier, but it also increases research time. Sorry, decreases research times when garrisoned in mosques. So this will let him produce those for half the price. But generally, when you're making a landmark that isn't sort of defensive or have some sort of attack, you want to be a little safer with it, especially when your opponent is up in your grill with towers. So back at Carlus Mangsen's base, he's going up with the deer stones. So just to explain what these do a little more clearly, the Mongols generally have an ability where any of their outposts provide what's called the Yam network. Unfortunately, I can't see it with the current... Oh, here we go. With the so cavalry and traders, which are also a type of cavalry, get 15% speed boosts when they're around them. But what the deerstones do is extend that to all units. So that's siege, that's villagers, that's spearmen, you name it. Infantry of all kinds. So it looks like another tower war going up here. And what he'll do, yeah, he places the tower, tries to force Viper into building one, and then he basically cancels it before he can finish. Pretty annoying, to be honest. The way the cancel works in this game is that you get all of the resources back, which means that you can kind of bait your opponent into building these. Looks like Viper is just going to commit on this just to lock down his base a little better. He has hit the... Actually, he hit the feudal age a little while ago. His first scholar is coming out now. And I'm guessing we're going to see Sanctity coming up from him. First Blacksmith coming up as well. So keep in mind that all the upgrades from the deli are free. It's a pretty big bonus if you can take advantage of it. The trick is surviving long enough to take advantage of it. Viper beginning to wall out his opponent now. Mangsen trying to be as annoying as possible here. Get in the way, and Spearman going to try to prevent Viper from finishing these walls. Alright, so this Mongol base looking pretty simple. I didn't point this out earlier, but we have the barracks around the OVO, and the OVO is just passively generating stone. This was built on a stone spot, and it replaced that spot with this building, and we'll just passively generate stone until it has used up. You see the circle there using up the stone in that area. A bit of a clash here. Viper trying to extend to build a lumber camp on this side. He's going to try to build this tower. Use quite a few villagers to do it, just to outpace the production of his opponent. Meanwhile, garrisons a bunch of villagers in here to make sure he can't stop him from building this tower. So this tower aggression looks like it's just about over from Carlus Mangsen. And this wall never finished, so he's actually going to be able to get away here. Viper will try to take out this villager from his opponent. Good play by him. Take any advantage you can get, and there it goes down. The 3 spearmen will get away. Mongol Khan just hanging out near the front lines for the blue player. And meanwhile, yeah, looks like 2 spearmen and a villager hanging out in that tower. Viper upgraded this outpost to have arrow slits, so he no longer needs to garrison anyone in here, and it will shoot 1 arrow automatically. And its range is greater, so now that he has an archer in here as well, it'll shoot 2 arrows, and the range will generally be extended. So definitely worthwhile to fortify... Oh, I actually canceled this one. Probably a smart play, saving those resources. So really, I think the game is stabilized a bit here. The question is what is going to happen next. Viper is currently researching from his blacksmith the ranged attack upgrade, Steeled Arrow, the tier 1 upgrade. So presumably more archer play coming out from him. He's a second Most over here. So definitely looking to either increase the speed at which he gets these upgrades, although he hasn't taken advantage. You know, he hasn't canceled some of these and added them here yet. Or just increase his general research speed. And yeah, here's the second blacksmith. This is pretty common to see. Keep in mind your research is free, but they take longer. So it's common to get 2 blacksmiths. There's so many techs in here, and you really want to power through them. So we'll see if he gets maybe the ranged armor, or maybe siege engineering, if he wants to do some kind of ram push in the near future. Mongol Khan is still just lurking on the outskirts. Another outpost going down from, rather going up from Viper. This one with arrow slits too, and what is he doing here? Fortify outposts. Looks like he's worried about a ram push or something like that. So this will give this thing 1,000 extra hit points. I almost wonder if he misclicked and meant to do arrow slits. But we'll have to see. Even with arrow slits, it makes it pretty difficult for his opponent to run in and build more towers. So I think that is part of the key in locking your opponent out when they're going for that extremely annoying Mongol tower rush, which I desperately hope gets nerfed to oblivion. There's no way Mongols should be a tower rushing civ, or if they are, they should be able to do it with infantry, right? It should be cavalry and towers, which would actually be quite a bit more thematic given their cross-continental trade routes. Mangsen has clicked up to the 3rd age, and he is going up with the step readout. This will allow for, well, you can drop off any resource here, but if you drop off gold, you get 50% more. So huge increase in gold income simply for having this, and then, you know, moving it here, and then moving this Gur somewhere else. We'll see the Viper is going up with the compound of the Defender, which I like a lot. What it does is allows for the infantry to build stone walls, gates, and towers. So that's, I mean, first of all, Delhi can already build, like, you know, this wall with infantry, which is super cool. It frees up your villagers to do other things. So I'm trying to ignore these pings. They're just towers shooting at each other here. Really not that big of a deal. But with Compound of the Defender, they can actually build stone wall. And then additionally, you can do things like build a castle for 25% less stone, because that stone cost is decreased. So 600 stone instead of 800 is a pretty big discount. So I'm curious to see if Viper makes any castles, or if he's just going to strengthen up his walls and go from there. Let's take a look at his techs. Okay, so just getting the general, so it's like we see the melee attack, ranged defense, ranged armor of tier 1 is already in. Lots of scholars popping out now, so he may be, oh, here goes. I thought he was going to go out to the sacred sites, but I don't, does he have sanctity? He doesn't. So he never researched sanctity, which allows for grabbing these sacred sites before you hit the castle age, although he's in the castle age already now, but they do double that income as well. Instead, he's using them to garrison in his stables, and is there a third one? No, I think it just went back into here. And so these stables are producing at twice the speed. So you get lancers or knights in 17 seconds instead of 34. Endless pings continue here. This looks like maybe a Springald emplacement from the Viper here. Yeah, so I still don't think that does very much damage at all. May even still be, I think it's 10. But anyway, he will obviously win this tower war, but pretty unimportant if I'm being honest. This thing is probably mostly set up for later in the game. If his opponent tries to run in here, there will be a Springald firing away at his troops, which will be quite a bit more effective. Blue player is now producing Lancers. So Springalds are a pretty good counter to Lancers, so I do like this upgrade from the Viper. And that's right, this one went arrow slit, so it can't go the other route. And this Khan will be driven out, will not be able to run through those towers. Viper coming out with Lancers of his own now. So we're going to have the Delhi Lancers against the Mongol Lancers. Currently, I think the Delhi... Let's take a general look at the population. So 45 economy for Mangsen with 15 military. 40 economy for Viper with 17 military. So slightly stronger military, but definitely behind in economy. Which makes me wonder... How did this happen exactly? I don't think this town center would have been able to double produce any villagers, which you can do by spending stone. Okay, we get a night battle on the front here. Looks like Viper's going to try to pull back. It's a pretty awkward situation for him. And may lose... Oh, look at that. Is this the pathing? Yeah, got totally stuck in here. So excellent play by Mangsen, locking him in. Now, he won't be able to run through this gate. So the Viper gets away just fine. We'll heal up his troops with these scholars here. But not a good first engagement, keeping in mind that all the Viper had going for him was that he was ahead on military, and I don't think he is anymore. Only barely. That being said, he does have a war elephant. These things are 600 resources, sorry, 1,000 resources total, 600 food, 400 gold. Additionally, they counter buildings. Look at this, look at him take down this tower. Goodbye. And he just sets it on fire and walks away. Cool guys don't look at burning down buildings. And this thing counters cavalry fairly effectively. He does have to be careful. It will go down to enough lancers, but it actually does plus 40 damage. You see in the second attack there against cavalry. So I think Mangsen needs to be more careful here than he's being. He needs overwhelming force, and the fact that Viper has a bunch of lancers here means he should have just run. And then now Viper's lost, what, only one knight? He can heal this thing up, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a scholar pop out and follow around this elephant and try to heal it up. And in the meantime, just use these things to clean up all of these... Ooh, spearmen popping out, which is actually a counter. But only 2 won't be enough to do the trick. 1,400 hit points on these things. Pretty wild. So Viper will just hold this position, probably. I don't think the Lancers can really push through it. So I think this is an overextension. I see no reason for Mangsen to be pushing this. If anything, he should try to maybe burn down the side, push at a different angle. But why push directly into the type of elephant that counters your forces? I don't see why one would or should do that. Knight's going to be burning down the towers. Torch damage, of course, being quite a bit more effective than just towers shooting at each other. And we see Viper placing another town center all the way over here. So trying to get an economic lead or at least catch up, because it's 48 for him and 54 for Carlus Mangsen. But he does have a massive military advantage. So I think the play is really to push out now, get some map control while you can. Meanwhile, Mangsen will try to use his advantage, his villager advantage, to get ahead one way or another. He's currently going for barracks and making spearmen. So that does counter both the Lancers and the Elephants from the Viper. Scout, I guess, getting taken down on the side. But I have to say, I don't think it's the strongest choice. You'll probably want towers placed out and about the map to increase their speed. The Viper can easily go for archers or even tower war elephants if he wants to just sort of kite the spearmen of his opponent. So Viper looks pretty content here to heal up the force he has, which does seem like a good play. Second town center now speeding along here. He has exactly 600 stone. So I'm curious if we see a castle go down from him. We'll keep an eye on if we see any villagers running out into the middle of the map, and we see his track star scholars. Look at that speed bonus on these things. Jogging around the map now with a relic. So that, of course, will provide him with 100 gold per minute. And his scholars, yeah, are running all over the map. Looks like he's going to try to grab this relic right out from under his opponent, but his probably won't let him with those spearmen being there. Let's follow this engagement here. See those arrows? That's just the Khan firing away. Khan, of course, can fire while moving, just like the Mangodai. And we see he actually wasn't able to stop. What is the speed on this thing? 1.5 versus 1.44 or 1.8 with the, I guess, with a bonus, bonus from? Where are they getting the bonus from? Anyway, I'm pretty sure the Scholar gets away. Long story short, we have a huge engagement right at the front. This could determine the course of the game here. This elephant is putting the work in. Is going to want... So these spears will counter the elephant, and this elephant may go down. But, I mean, I have a feeling when this battle ends, we're going to see just a litter of dead bodies around this thing. It does so much damage to cavalry. course, it doesn't have the speed to get away, but look, another knight going down. Almost takes out another one. So let's look at this. Horrific. That thing probably took out like four knights by itself, which pretty much pays itself off. Not to mention all the good work it did closer to Viper's base. Now, if you look at the score, Mangsen does appear to be way ahead, but that is misleading. Mongol's score is bugged. Every time they unpack buildings, it counts as rebuilding those buildings. So that is a bug. And Mangsen does have the military advantage significantly here, 35 to 23, and a 3-villager lead as well. So we'll see if he can make good on that. That being said, the Viper is going to be pretty comfortable from home, and I think he probably has the advantage in terms of relics. There's already 3 in here. Do we see any in here? Not yet. So 4th going in now, and he's probably going to run out pretty much right away and grab this one. Or at least try. There are knights now looping around. These villagers are definitely in danger. So Mangsen doing the right thing. He's trying to lock the Viper into his own base. Berries gather slower than a lot of other food sources. I don't remember how they compare to farms. They should be pretty similar. But, look at this. Yeah, these are going to go down for sure. These other ones running back through the gate to safety. But farms cost 75 wood up front to make it all. So being able to make a single mill for 50 and then gather a lot of berries is definitely worth it. The Viper gets away with 3 plus, I don't know, the 4 there. So actually did pretty okay in surviving that. Lots of crossbows out from the Viper now. Crossbows are okay against spearmen. They will do the job. You do need to work them, right? They don't get any bonus damage, so you need to scoot and shoot. You need to be really active with them, whereas against his opponent's knights, they will be very, very effective, getting quite a bit of bonus damage. +9 versus heavy units. Viper needs to be so much more careful here. Loses 1 knight, almost a second one. Has scholars up front here. Yeah, I bet he's probably thinking about this relic. He's played too much Age of Empires 2 to not be doing so. Mangonel coming down. This is looking potentially like a death ball from Carlus Mangsen. Oh, Viper needs to be so careful. Yeah, this ball of units can go down so quickly from that Mangonel. Scholars really putting the work in, getting the healing done. Taking this sacred... Oh, actually, Viper was capturing this. Okay, this is pretty cool. So we actually... That's why I didn't see that Mangonel. It was built in the field. So the Mongols have researched not just siege engineering, but improved siege engineering. So they have improved techs, which they can get if their blacksmith is in the influence of their ovo, and if they spend a bunch of stone. So he has improved siege engineering, meaning that his infantry can actually make siege weapons pretty much of all kinds, including trebuchets, mangonels, springles. Oh, almost takes out this... Oh, doesn't get the second shot, and it goes down now. And Viper's knights are in such a bad spot here. This Springle needs to get that shot off on the Mangonel, and it doesn't. Now, one thing Viper has going for him are these crossbows, which will work really effectively. He's pretty happy if this combat's going back and forth, but he's much less happy if this Mangonel sets up and is able to range his crossbows. It will go down so quickly. Area of effect damage will probably do more than a third damage, let's say. Take out more than a third health of all of these crossbows. Viper doing a really good job. That Mangonel trying to lead its target, but not able to. Trying to clog this up. Pulling back at the last second. Sheesh, look at this. What a mess. I feel like this is pretty desperate. I mean, the Viper's doing a good job making it... Oh, he took this out. Did he get a Springled? I didn't see what took out the Mangonel. Maybe just some crossbow shots did the trick. But definitely making the use of... making the most of this choke point. Possibly more Springleds or using them a little more actively could have helped him out quite a bit there. Even Spearmen of his own might have helped, or potentially Men-at-Arms. Another archery range going down from the Viper that is probably for either... archers or crossbows, basically. It has to be. Probably a mix of the two, I would guess, given what he already has. Try to see what happens next here. So I think the Viper's doing pretty well for himself, considering he's almost caught up in score and his score is not bugged. So very similar military sizes, and their economies are identical in terms of villagers. But of course, Viper having 4 relics, his opponent having none. This is the 5th one on the map. So Viper with an extra 400 gold per minute. Okay, Lancers looping around. Mongols can't wall. If you're wondering why he's not walling this, he is not able to. So he may loop right into his opponent's base, and if he gets behind there, it could be pretty bad. We'll see what damage these... Okay, Knight's running in here mostly as a stalling tactic. Viper trying to get his army home. He doesn't want to get surrounded. And look at that. Does an excellent job in doing so. I thought he was going to kite here, scoot and shoot. But definitely valued just getting his troops home. 4 villagers taking mangonel shots directly. Yeah, running right home. At this point, his towers will definitely be more useful. The Springled in here coming in handy. Going to take out this tower. Look at all those torches on it. Oh, mangonel pops out. Troops are too close to shoot. That's, what, 600 resources lost right there. Viper trying to take out his opponent's mangonels. I don't know if he succeeds, though. And, oh yeah, the Lancers. Forgot to check back on the Lancers. They're in on the villagers at home for Carlus Mangsen. And I don't... Does he see this? This is so bad. He saw this. Does he see this? Okay, so his economy is dropping. He's down to 66. Viper at 80. If the Viper can hold this, he has a significant economic lead now. And is on 2 town centers, so he will be able to push it to the end. And Mangsen needs to get good mangonel shots. He does. About a third health dropping on a lot of these troops. Crossbows are pretty effective. Springled, 2 Springleds taking out the mangonels from his opponent. I think Viper holds this. Looks like the Viper holds this. And look at the villager destruction over here. Now we have 80 economy against 45. The Viper basically ended the game with that Lancer raid. That is fantastic. The very best players are able to decide, you know what, I don't need these troops. They're better off not on a frontal attack. I can use this choke point to my advantage and win on a map like Hillendale. Folks, the Viper beating Carlus Mangsen, whoever that is. Delhi versus... I have forgotten who Carlus Mangsen is on Hillendale. Folks, if you enjoyed this one, please like and subscribe, and I will catch you next time.